going to go ahead and jump into the Us Lifting Us 10-point appeal and plan for the new black economy. And again, sisters and brothers, this is a part of our orientation and training that we've incorporated starting last week. So it's a 10-part series where every week we will pick a point, one of our 10 points to cover, have an hour-long discussion, and definitely open up the lines to allow our members an opportunity to provide feedback and share on what they think and feel are the most relevant aspects of each point. So this call tonight will be no different. I'll start off by reading the entire document, all 10 plans. I'll reread point number 2, and then at that time we'll engage in a interactive discussion. I'll open up all the lines, and as you know, as ideas come up, and as you feel led to share, please feel free. This will be an open forum, so to speak, unless you have background noise. So I'm just kind of giving you a heads up now. If you're in an area where you might have some background noise, you might want to move to a quiet place. And if you're not able to do so, once we open up your line and we hear some background noise, we'll just simply go ahead and mute your phone to keep the call clear. All right, so I'll go ahead and read the 10-point appeal and plan at this time. Current events and the general unrest of the time call for radical change. The following points provide practical and necessary steps for a new and positive existence for us today and for future generations. Point number 1. As black people, we take full responsibility for the economic destiny of our community and nations. Point 2. Persons and black institutions, especially the black church, join together as members in a large-scale cooperatively owned business enterprise to pool our resources. Point 3. This cooperatively owned business enterprise is reflective of our unique culture and interest in the world. Point 4. The governance and legal form of the cooperative accommodate democratic principles. One member, one vote, with elected leadership. Point number 5. Only members of the cooperative and not the public have the opportunity to secure ownership units or equity in the business enterprise, with the potential to amass billions of dollars for community development. Point 6. The cooperative focuses on opening and operating businesses in local communities that 1. Provide needed goods and services, 2. Create new jobs, 3. Stimulate additional business activity, and 4. Yield a fair profit. Point number 7. The cooperative is driven to duplicate and expand into hundreds and eventually thousands of businesses, all owned and controlled by the collective. 8. The net profits from overall cooperative success are used to, number 1, reinvest for the distribution of grants and endowments, and 3, direct return or dividends to members, owners of the cooperative. Point number 9. The large-scale cooperatively owned, group-owned business enterprise functions as a catalyst and central element in building and sustaining the new black economy, one that gives power to our people. And point number 10. The Us Lifting Us Economic Development Cooperative, LLC, serves as the aforementioned model. Special note, these 10 points form the basis for our black economic empowerment. The security and welfare of our people starts with our determination to control the economics of our community and nations. Black people and black people alone hold the key to the gateway leading to their freedom, philosophies and opinions of Marcus Garvey, 1923. So again, sisters and brothers, that is our 10-point appeal and plan for the new black economy, and our focus on this second half of the call is on point 2. Black churches or black persons and black institutions, especially the black church, join together as members in a large-scale cooperatively owned business enterprise to pool our resources. You want to give us an expanded version of that?
Yes. And, of course, when we look at African people in the West historically in this country. There were times, and we speak of them fondly, when we came together to form mutual aid societies. When we left those plantations and joined together for survival. And what this point two speaks to is a structure or an apparatus in place that serves to allow us and facilitate our pooling of resources, not only money, but intellectual, our skills, our energy. And so point two, when we say black persons and black institutions, and of course we say especially the church, our appeal to our community is that we join together in an organized effort, an organized enterprise for the purpose of pooling our resources. And we are saying here, and we are appealing to the black community, that we cannot afford to be random. We cannot afford to be left in a position where we don't have adequate planning for our empowerment. And of course, we single out the church because the church is probably still the most powerful institution in our community. And I've heard you from time to time talk about some statistics relative to the black church, and I'm going to want to lean on you for that in a moment. But it would be a mistake, our position is it would be a mistake to develop an empowerment plan that did not, in fact, include the black church. The brother who had a question earlier out of Virginia Beach is a pastor, and there are other pastors or ministers who are members of ULU. And as we indicated earlier, churches can be members, associations can be members, sororities and fraternities can be members. So we would definitely be in error if we did not single out the black church and as one of the institutions that has the ability, because of our structure, to actually join and become members of this enterprise. So I would ask you, Brother DJ, to give us a little background in terms of the prominence from an economic standpoint of what the church has been and is in the economic landscape of our community.
And thank you for that opportunity, Baba Hakeem. I always make mention when we're covering the 10-point appeal and plan, and specifically point 2, I make mention to note the U.S. Census from 3 or 4 years ago that noted that people of African descent in the United States deposit in tithes and offering approximately $250 billion a week into the black church, right? Now, most of these resources, most of this $250 billion a week, or $250 million a week, I should say, are deposited in banks that are not ours. In other words, these are not black banks, by and large, that these deposits and receipts go to on Monday mornings. And so things that I really make a point to state to people is what are some of the things that we can do practically if those receipts or deposits were made in black-owned banks or black banking institutions. Because, of course, as most of us know, many of the things that banks do, along with other services, they make loans on those monies. And so the viability of black banks are directly tied to deposits and depositors on a weekly, monthly, yearly basis. Okay? And so there is no greater institution in terms of size than the black church that has the ability to deposit hundreds of millions of dollars in the coffers of banks, whether they be white or black, on a weekly basis. There's no other institution, single institution, that has the ability to do that other than the black church. So just like Baba Hekima said, to have a conversation about black economic empowerment that does not directly include the black church is being naive and foolish, to say the least. So the black church has to be included, if for no other reason. The size of those institutions and the amount of resources that flow through those institutions on a weekly basis. So again, we have a tremendous amount of resources that if we can just harness it in a proper way, building these relationships with pastors across the country to encourage them to help keep black banks viable and in a position to continue to give loans and build the economics, or help to build the economics of our communities, we would be a lot further along in our progress. So I thank you for allowing me an opportunity to share that, Baba Hekima.
Yeah, and of course our plans in ULU call for building financial institutions as well. And so at a point in the life cycle of ULU, we will own banks, and of course the church will be instrumental in helping us do that. And we may want to also let brothers and sisters know that it may have been as much as 2 months ago, some of the local artists, some very well known, came together here in Atlanta, and as encouraging our only black bank, Citizens Trust Bank, and we have an account there, ULU has an account there, to step up and perform based on 21st century needs. And so fill in, I may not know the names, I know that Ludacris, Jermaine Dupri, Killer Mike, Usher, Chaka Zulu, I'm not sure the others, mounting a campaign, and they have a target in terms of new deposits at this bank and encouraging persons to take out loans. And we join with them in that effort. And so in addition to doing what we talk about in terms of the ULU plan, we definitely want to join with other efforts around the city and around the country that gives structure and predictability to what it is that we're building. It's not just enough to talk about it, but we've actually got to put things in place and to guide them towards the ends that we seek.
Certainly. And so at this time, Baba Hekima, I'm going to begin to unmute everybody's line unless you have background noise. So we're going to, in an attempt to make this call, second half of the call, much more interactive. And so again, as questions or even comments come up, feel free to jump in, because we want to hear what you have to say as well about point 2. Okay, so we'll begin to unmute the phones at this time as we continue to move forward with our discussion. So once you hear your phone beep, that means your line is unmuted. And if you have a question or even a comment for myself or Brother Hekima, or even for everybody who's listening, feel free. It's an open session at this time.
And while brothers and sisters are formulating
comment I'm going to try to put up there.
Did someone have a comment?
I just do say
yeah, that was,
I thought it was
having some.
It ain't that big at all.
Yeah, that was some background noise, so we're good.
Okay, good. It's incumbent upon us as mature brothers and sisters in our movement to do what we can to formulate prescriptions, plans, strategies, and formations to accommodate this need for us to pool our resources. And so if for whatever reason ULU is not successful, we don't see that occurring. We feel that we're going to be successful. But if for whatever reason we are not successful, the need is still there for a well thought out strategy and plan and implementation scenario so that it makes it possible and predictable that these resources could be aggregated, and further than that, that there is a specific strategy plan for how those funds would be utilized for the ultimate goal of economic empowerment for our people. And we think that a part of that should also be that none of this should be taken out of the hands of the people, out of the control and scrutiny of the community. In other words, it should be to empower a people, and that part of that empowerment is not just the benefits, but the lessons learned from managing it, from running it, from all the intricacies of community building, nation building, for building the kind of society that we want, and that we learn through the mechanics of doing it. So anyway, I just wanted to say that as we open the lines up.
Okay. And again, all lines are open, so unless you have background noise, but most of the lines are unmuted, so feel free to jump in. I'll go ahead and read point number 2 again, just for clarity, and maybe some of you have thought of some points that you would like to share. Black persons and black institutions, especially the black church, join together as members in a large-scale cooperatively owned business enterprise to pool our resources. So here we have it, institutions, and the focus is again on the black church joining together with us to pool our resources.
Hey, can you hear me?
That
yes,
sounds
sir.
like Eric.
Hey, greetings, brother. Brothers, how are you all this evening?
Doing well.
All right,
Good.
awesome. Yes, point number 2, and I'm so glad that we've got to focus on point number 2 tonight, because that was the inspiration behind the event that I've got scheduled at my church on June the 11th, and of course, and yours truly, Baba Kima, is invited to be one of our panelists. Not only Baba Kima, but all of the ULU board, who's able to accompany with him, because I know he likes to bring the family with him and his brain trust and all of those with him. So, but of course, I just mentioned him because he's going to the structure of the event is going to be pretty much an early morning breakfast. Like real early, like 6 o'clock. We plan on gathering, but we're going to start the program at 7, and we're going to start the event off by viewing 7 a.m. How appropriate, right? And of course, and we're going to feed a local breakfast from foods grown by local small black farmers, mainly most of our West Georgia farmers, co-op farmers. And of course, we're going to do the 7 a.m. discussion, and afterwards we're going to have a panel by what I consider 2 giants in this co-op movement, past and present, Ralph Page from the Federation and Baba Kima and the ULU family. And the reason, and the I guess the thing that's worth mentioning about this event is that we are making a pointed effort, a deliberate effort, to invite all of our local preachers and pastors to this event. And of course, and for that purpose, to get a discussion started about cooperative economics and how we can pool together, because there's been some conversation going on for at least since the end of Black History Month in my church community about doing some things. There's been talk about a credit union. So, and I'm hoping that what can come out of this gathering, at minimum, is a steering committee, focus group, study group that can start to put the plans together to help us to so because LaGrange, we've never had any type of black bank or credit union, and we've got a lot of churches, and it's something that's clearly doable. And with the expertise of Mr. Page from his years of the Federation, he's built credit unions throughout the Southeast, and of course, and then of course with some of the ideas and innovations that ULU is able to bring, we hope at minimum to get a discussion going, a serious, focused discussion with some plans on, you know, how we go about bringing a small credit union to our community, and at the most, we hope to, of course, you know, get a full commitment from most if not all of the churches represented there. But we're expecting it to be a pretty well attended event and a robust gathering. So I just wanted to say that because it was so appropriate that, you know, of course, and that we're focusing on churches cooperating in this cooperative movement, and of course we have an event, and the event will correlate to the beginning of Juneteenth, and that'll be June 11th at early morning. Thanks.
Hello?
Yes.
Testing,
Yes,
testing.
yes. Thank you for sharing that, brother. Yes, we can hear you, sister. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I have several questions that I want to ask. First, how many members currently is there, and what state is this start? Did this this program start in? Like what area?
Go ahead, Bobby.
You
You want to take that question?
Yes, sister. What's your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Tyronda. I'm calling from Connecticut.
Oh, I saw your name today. Great.
Wonderful.
Yes, we started the effort here in Georgia, but we have members throughout the country. I'm not sure how many members in Connecticut. We know we got a good many members in New York, Virginia, D.C., Philly. But the number of members, there is a fairly accurate list of members on our website. If you go to the home page and click member owners, you'll see a listing of our members.
Beautiful.
Beg your pardon?
No, I said, okay, thank you for that.
Yes. And new members, one person who called in the first hour, their name was just added today. And so we want to continue to keep that accurate list out there.
Okay. Are you personally familiar with the program NACA, Neighborhood Assistance Program, where they are, it's NACA, where they are giving loans for houses with no money down at all whatsoever, and your credit score doesn't matter? Are you familiar with that program?
I'm not. Are you familiar with that, Brother DJ?
No, I'm not familiar at all. Can you please share with us what it is?
It's a nonprofit organization that fought for, all the predatory lending and all the excuses about, why people cannot buy homes is because, an average person doesn't have a down payment. So, they have this nonprofit organization they put together. I'm not saying it's, I don't know if it's African Americans. I don't think it is, but I think it's just a group of people, period, all involved, all races. And they put that program together and, fought. So they have, I think, Bank of America and Citibank are backing them. And they gave them $13 billion. And with this $13 billion, they are to invest in, low to middle income people. And the people, only qualification is that they have a job, that they've held for 6 months with a 2-year history. And then they don't have to have a down payment at all whatsoever. As a matter of fact, if they do have a down payment, they can buy 25% of their interest off. So if you come up with every $1,000 buys you your interest down by 0.25%. So that's what they do if you do have a down payment. They have to take an 8-hour course. They have to go to one of their 8-hour seminars. And as long as the job history, of 24 months, if they own their own business, if they've been showing deposits for 24 months. But I'm not here to promote that program. I mean, it's a great program. I'm not saying I'm not promoting it, but I'm just bringing it up so maybe you guys can do some research, because I'm definitely interested in joining with your program. So I'm bringing that up because, maybe you guys can do some research, or we as a whole can do some research and find out very quickly how they're doing that, and we duplicate it, or very quickly get deeply involved, because it's a struggle. I'm a single parent. I raise 3 children. I have my own business. I write business plans, and I help other people go into business. That's what I do. And it's a real struggle out here. And with all the welfare reformed, women and children are basically starving. So there's so many women living off of just food stamps. I know you guys know about the law that, was enacted in every state. After 5 years, you get kicked off. But on the East Coast states, mostly, I'm finding out, because I was in California for a while. Here, they're throwing people off after 2 years with an extension, but it's all fake. Not that, we want to see people on welfare, but I'm definitely an advocate for helping mothers with children. I worked for 30 years, and if something did happen with my income, and if I lose my job, and I worked for 30 years for this country, I expect somebody to help me. So I help myself, thank God, but everybody doesn't have the drive or the initiative or the support or whatever it takes to start a business. I started my business from zero. And was in a very bad situation. So these are some of the emergencies that if I join with any organization, these are some of the things that I'm looking at. Housing is critical right now, and support for single mothers, whether it be male or female.
What I would encourage you to do to help in that regard, if after you look at ULU and you decide to become a member, I would encourage you to join our online community, build your page, and promote your business and expose what you do to the rest of the members, but also expose and promote some of the tools or things that you would suggest that people take advantage of, that you are aware of or become aware of in the future.
Thank you. You have an online community. I didn't hear that part. That's good. Where you can build your own page, and you have the website, Jerome?
Yeah, I got the website.
Yeah. So from the home page, just click ULU Community, and set up your user. Well, once you become a member, you can't do it now, but you can see part of the page. But once you become a member, then you can build your own page and expose your business, and in that community, you can begin to build relationships with other business owners and members in ULU around the country.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the question and the information as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead and jump in. Open forum.
Greetings, family. This is Benita.
Greetings.
I'm not going to mess with you. I started to.
Look, it's a new phase. I could have just sat back, but
that's right.
I'm gonna jump right in on this one. So I really do appreciate the follow up, the orientation call. I think it's a great idea. But I guess as we were doing the Thursday night call, new member calls, I had already kind of propelled my thoughts as to what I could do for ULU on an individual aspect. And as I mentioned before, ULU introduced Freedom Paper Company to me in one of the calls, and I've since been ordering my paper products through them. And I've not really dwelled deep into it, but my to-do list is to become a independent contractor or a person to be able to help sell their products with the hopes of building a dam, i.e. my money's come back to ULU with my investment units and things of that degree. So that's what I was working on in my personal side. I was wondering, is there any way that you all may be able to add, or any members that will be able to add, if we did that as a collective, or have you looked deep into Freedom Paper Company to know if they would be ideal? Because I feel in my heart of hearts I could, probably get Black institutions, my church especially, to at least commit to purchasing paper products from a Black-owned company versus Dollar General, Walmart. And I think that's it seems to be a more feasible approach for what I could be able to contribute in building the dam. And I just didn't know if we would take that kind of approach as to what I would be willing to do and bring it into like a members buy-in for I guess, independent contractors for Freedom Paper Company.
Yeah, thank you for your question, Sister Benita. Bobby Kimmy, you want to take that?
You take it.
Okay. Yeah, we do have I guess you would call it a limited relationship with the brother who runs Freedom Paper Company, Brother Muhammad. His first name escapes me at the moment. But we have had, Camus Muhammad. We have had several conversations with the brother, I would say, over the last year, maybe year and a half. And so we've been interested in the process of becoming a distributor for the paper product, or at least an interest for some time. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to get an actual deal done, but, we're open to the possibilities of sitting back at the table and seeing what all he has to offer, what we're able to do, especially now since, we voted to engage in some smaller projects. So we're certainly in a better position now than we were, say, a year and a half ago to be able to get something done around Freedom Paper Company. It's a great product, excellent concept, and the fact that the brother is so tied to our local community makes it all the more better. So I thank you, and we certainly thank you for bringing that back to our awareness, and I'll certainly commit myself to connecting with the brother before our next call.
Okay, appreciate it. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, sis.
Anyone else with a comment or a question, or just some thoughts about point 2 of our 10-point appeal and plan?
Yes, Jerome Perkins here in New Haven.
Thank you.
Greetings, brother.
How you doing? Yeah, I just wanted to ask, say like if someone have a good ideal here in New Haven and they give you all the particulars and you guys like it, will y'all help fund that, and become a ULU member in conjunction out of the gate?
I'll take that, brother. This is Hakima. We're not a financial institution. So what would happen in a scenario where ULU members had a good idea for a business in a local community? If you floated that idea to ULU and ULU decided to participate, that business would become an ULU-owned business fully. It would be organized as a cooperative, and it would be owned by ULU members globally. And your involvement as ULU members who may have put in some sweat equity or other efforts to bring it to fruition, there may be some equity consideration, unit considerations, maybe some other consideration. But ULU is pledged and serious about only developing and running co-op businesses that are managed by the workers and owned by all of ULU. Now, that's not to say that if you had a business, a viable business, and that there was a way for us to partner with you through what we ran as a co-op and what you ran as your own business, and that there would be some kind of supportive relationship that could occur. But ULU is not in the business of funding or operating as a bank or a credit union to fund ideas, whether they're from the general public or from members. And hopefully that's understood and appreciated. Is there a follow-up question to that?
What about, let's say, like you as a member of ULU and you have units, and what happens if something happens to you, and you want to away? How do your assets reverse to your loan? How does that work?
Can you hear the question, Brother DJ? I'm having problems hearing it.
I'm saying that if say like you're in ULU and you're a member, right, and you have units, and and you pass away, what happens?
Good. Yeah, what you will do as a member is fill out a purchase agreement, and you will indicate who your beneficiaries are, and you will divide them if it needs to be divided. And let's say that a member dies, and the beneficiary must also qualify to be a member. If that beneficiary cannot qualify to be a member, then the unit will not be passed to them. They will be liquidated, and what will pass to them is the cash. In other words, we would cash out and put the cash in that person's hand. In other words, we don't want a scenario where units or ownership units in ULU would be owned by people outside of our community, or people who would not agree to the operating agreement and to the overall mandate of what it is that we're doing. So there is a process to exercise your authority and your wishes in terms of what your units or who your units would be passed to.
Yeah, do you allow people with criminal records to become members? Like, people coming out of jail?
We don't ask. We're not concerned about it. They're not criminals with us.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. Thank you. That's cool.
Thank you.
All right.
Y'all up there in Connecticut, huh? Okay.
Oh, yeah, we checking you out real good.
There you go. That's beautiful. It's always beautiful when couples look at things together. And
we're not a couple. We're not a couple.
You're not?
Okay. We're family. That's
Your
my
family.
cousin.
Okay. Well,
yeah,
that's what I really meant, right?
We're trying to unify the family here because we have about 15 last names and 8 churches, and that all migrated from North Carolina, and we also own in North Carolina our last names of land of I guess my grandfather built the first church down there, and there's 18 children, and then he bought land and gave each of them some land, so they have streets and land and acres named after a lot of our different last names that came from our greatest grandfather. He's past great. I don't know how far back, but anyway.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, Connecticut, everybody always says, are there black people here? Well, this was where they brought the slaves at first, right? So there's got to be. Everywhere I go, they ask me that. They say, is there black people in Connecticut? Hell yeah, there's black people here. We're the first slaves right here.
Thank you. That's beautiful.
My cousin, he found the program, and I'm an adamant, persistent businesswoman. So he found it and brought it to me, and he knows how I critique and look at everything. So I said, well, every day he kept talking about your program, and I was like, oh, let me just take a look at this program. And so I'm very impressed with any type of program that's unifying people and bringing people together and forming cooperatives, and cooperatives are extremely powerful. So I think it's a great idea. And come aboard with my ideas and collaborate with your company and your ideas.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay, so good evening, gentlemen and ladies. I'm going to be signing off.
Thank you. We'll reach back out to you.
Okay, beautiful. I'll join, and I'll be visiting the meetings and going online and things of that
Beautiful.
nature.
All right. Then.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir, and we really appreciate you taking your time out of your life to make a life for others.
Well, it's a group effort, of course, and you
straighten
me up on
that.
It's a
job,
family.
Though, I know.
That's what I like, because you got to fly as people. That's what I like, because it's a group effort, and we need that in our culture and in this country among our people, and that's what's lacking. And you're the eagle that we're gonna all fly. We're gonna fly together. And I love it. This is what I was looking for. We need it bad up here, all over the country. We need it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Good evening.
All right.
All right. Good evening.
Isn't that beautiful, DJ?
Yep.
Yeah. Anyone else? Did we lose Brother DJ?
No, I'm here. I was just saying that when families sit down together and explore ideas and join as family and those creative juices begin to flow, beautiful things can happen. So welcome aboard. Happy to have you.
Yes.
Definitely look forward to good things. And black folks in Connecticut, they got to be a special group.
Exactly. And see, the thing that she mentioned in terms of their roots being in North Carolina, and the land has been in the family, and the streets are named after ancestors, that happens across the South. And as we build large-scale cooperatively owned enterprises, as ULU, we're going to be able to connect the rural and the cities. Many of our people will tell us often, why don't you purchase land? Land is, they say agriculture is the first culture. But the truth of it is that we got land. And in many cases, we're losing land because we don't have markets for the products. And so part of ULU's strategy is to create, own, and profit from the marketplaces where those products, goods, and services come from not only the rural area, but from Central and South America, the Caribbean, Africa, all over. And we began to treat the marketplace from a not just an emotional thing, but strategically, and actually build it, profit centers in it that fuel the economy that we're speaking about. But yeah, we hear almost every week that someone in the North is attached to land in the South that is, in many cases, not in production, but they want to bring it into production. And so that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
All right. Anyone else with a question or a comment? It's been a great discussion. Great discussion. We've pretty much got everybody on the line. Do we have any other questions or comments?
Yes, I have a question. This is Jacob Pendergrass from South Carolina.
Hey,
brother.
Hi, how you doing?
Good.
So, concerning the black institution, the church, of course, and there are other institutions that we can think of. Is there a sort of a group or a committee that's or forming a strategy in how to approach those groups as far as bringing them on board, or is there a plan for putting together a group to do that?
Yes, there is, but it's right now we don't have staff people in place to actually administer that kind of outreach. Mm-hmm. There have been associations that have come to us through individuals who were part of those associations, and as a matter of fact, they've joined. But there must be a more focused approach. Because some of these organizations have to be romanced over years, and you would know. And we will build that capacity later, but we don't have that capacity now. But we know we got to do it. And
okay.
Yeah. You know, there are a lot of things that you know you should do. You want to do it, but we're still in our infancy as an enterprise, and so some of these things are going to be months away, in some cases years away. But we are in a position on a limited scale, regionally, to sit down with institutions, but we don't have a staff where we can dispatch people all across the country or around the world to sit with individuals. I
was thinking about existing members.
Okay.
In those areas, maybe working out a strategy of how to approach these institutions with members in place, like that close by these institutions, that we could call on these institutions and present our plan, and it's basically an informational sharing, but it sort of requires a little bit of training on our part, because a lot of us are not into marketing. Of course, my background is not marketing, but it's that I'm thinking from a sort of a volunteer member standpoint, that we can have designated people if they would join, if they would we have a group, and that group would be specifically to go out for these type institutions. Anyone close by those institutions would then go in and make the presentation.
Okay. But what I'll make a note of, Brother Pendergrass, is maybe as a subcommittee of the membership committee that's dedicated to group approaches.
Right.
And some specific orientation and training, and maybe even develop some packets that they would take with them. So let's nail that down, and I'll make a note of that too in the discussions of the membership committee to have that task parked as a sub effort in that committee's work.
Right.
I appreciate the implications there, and our need to empower members to function in that role. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? It's an open session, sisters and brothers. Any additional questions before we sign off for the night? We've got about a little less than 8 minutes to go in our discussion, and it's been great. A lot of important points raised, a lot of questions asked, and a lot of helpful answers given. So we definitely thank you all for participating.
Well, I want to encourage all of us on the call and those who will listen to the archive. And, of course, these discussions every Thursday are archived, so you can go back and listen to them. But brothers and sisters who are favorable for this approach, or who you're a member or you're leaning towards being a member, I want to encourage all of us to, when the website opens and the 10 points are there, to print out 3, 4, 5, 10, 15 copies of the 10-point appeal and plan, and just keep them with you. And when you move about in life and the opportunity arises where you can ask a question, ask a brother or sister, just say, well, you mind if I ask you a question? If they say, no, would you be in favor, or do you think it's important that we control the economics of our own community? And if the person says yes, just give them the 10-point appeal and go on and shop, whatever. I mean, if they engage you in the conversation, good. But just create an environment to pass those 10-point appeals and plan out to persons. I know personally that there are people in East Africa passing them out right now or in the last couple of days. And so we want to have a scenario where people, in whatever walk of life you're in, if you're a pastor, if you belong to the National Association of Black Computer Programmers or whatever, as you move about in life, just move those 10 points to people that you know and people that you come in contact with. We never know what that will lead to, but we think we have calculated what it leads to. It will lead to something great. We know that there are tens of thousands of people looking at ULU who haven't joined, and it's almost a spiritual process. Our people, they want you to show them something, and so slowly but surely, people are coming in and making a contribution. So I'll just say in closing, I'm hopeful that that if you decide to be a member, click join, fill out the application, click pay/donate, pay the $50, and we'll interview you and hopefully bring you into the family.
Hey, greetings. This is Eric again.
Beautiful.
I wanted to follow up right after the brother had made the point, the suggestion about having an approach, a strategy to approach the churches. And I was just going to say, as a follow-up to his comments and just further clarification on the effort that we've got going on June 11th, that was the point that he made was something that was heavily in consideration when the event was kind of put together. As far as this area, that would serve that event would serve as like a kickoff for maybe how to begin to approach churches in that manner, because as I mentioned earlier, there's going to be a deliberate effort to have as many of our local preachers as possible there. And as far as point two in the church and business and things of that nature, I'm Methodist, and I belong to the CME Church, which was originally the Colored Methodist Episcopal Church, but it's now the Christian Methodist Episcopal Church. And our church itself is a corporation. If you know anything about the Methodist structure, the Methodist Church is a corporation. But actually, the only business they're in is the business of the church. They don't own anything other than church property. Of course, all churches, the building and the property belongs to the corporate church. And so I just say all that to just simply say the Methodist Church, particularly the CME Church, is already geared toward business. But this, will be an opportunity to maybe change their paradigm as opposed to being in business other than the business of the church. And so just to follow up on his point, the event that we're doing on June the 11th will be kind of like an official kickoff. Particularly, I can speak for my area, and of course, and it and it may serve as a model for some things that we can do in some of the other areas to introduce not only ULU but cooperative economics to some of these church communities.
Thank you. Well, we're going to lean on you to help shape that approach.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, all in. Yes, sir.
All right. Any other closing questions or comments before we sign off for the night, sisters and brothers? Want to offer one last opportunity. Going once? Going twice? All right. Baba Hekima, go ahead, if you don't mind. Give us some parting thoughts, so to speak, something for us to think about and maybe ponder until next week. And again, sisters and brothers, this is the call that we do every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. In the first half of the discussion is designed for prospective members to gain greater insight on Us Lifting Us, what it is, how it came about, and what it's designed to do. The second half of the call is where we engage in member training and orientation, where we open up all the lines, go through one of our 10 points to establish a level of clarity so that we all will be on the same page moving forward and develop some talking points. And so that's what this call on Thursday night is designed to do, those two parts. So go ahead, Baba Hakeem. I just wanted to mention, one last thing. Before we sign off, those of you who are listening in via internet, definitely invite you to check out our website at www.usliftingus.com. That's usliftingus.com. Get a feel for our structure, our culture. Share it with your family members, friends, co-workers, other community activists that you may know in your local community. And more importantly, get involved. Get involved in ULU. ULU is a cooperative business enterprise that is owned and controlled by its members, and so we all have a responsibility as member owners as well. Take it away, Baba Hakeem.
Well, I really want to thank all Eric and Jacob and our new family there up in Connecticut for asking the question, and I just ask us to be honest with ourselves. I would say that every last one of us in our heart of hearts really desire that we be in charge of our affairs, that we not be exploited, that we not be dominated, that we not be mistreated. And so what we have developed in Us Lifting Us, and the name really says it, Us Lifting Us, because we know it's going to have to be us. But the second part is Economic Development Cooperative. And so in our names, we're saying we need to pool our energies, us lifting us. We're talking about upliftment. And then we want to form a cooperative for the purpose of developing our communities economically. So when I say be honest with ourselves, sometimes we settle for secondary objectives. Let's be honest and know that, in fact, we want to be rulers. We want to control the economics, the politics, and the culture of our communities. And so ULU provides for us a structure that allows us to format that, to cooperate with other institutions, other businesses in doing that. But this is a big idea. This is going to scare some of us because, sometimes we're encouraged to go slow and to not be so bodacious about these goals. And so I just encourage us to think of anyone in the world that you know that in their hearts they really don't want to control themselves and their environment. And if you find that person, you know that person is supremely wounded. And even though we know that we're wounded, but we're not supremely wounded to that extent. So let's when we come together and when we think through and we seek to format what it is that we do day to day, understand that it's for the ultimate goal of us not being forced to serve any master other than ourselves, and in some cases we say ourselves and the Most High. So again, we'll be back together again next Thursday. Forward the email that you receive, and we look forward to communing with you next Thursday, and some of you, of course, will talk to you during the week. Peace, family.